Hey everyone, welcome to Discover the Kettlebell. The Discover the series is going to really introduce you, if you've never used the kettlebell, to feeling comfortable. I'll introduce you to the swing as well as the clean, so you can learn to move the kettlebell as well as pick the kettlebell up. And then you get to play around with that a little bit. The kettlebell is a great tool and piece of equipment for not just strength, but endurance. I find it's also a good tool where it can tell you if you're doing the technique wrong. Like, it's very quickly a very good feedback system. If something's going wrong in the movement pattern, the kettlebell won't allow you to give yourself a shitty rep or a bad rep. Okay, before we get into the technical details of the kettlebell, I want you to get comfortable using the kettlebell, or at least experience holding the kettlebell. Make sure you pick up a weight that's light enough and safe enough that even if you did make the odd mistake with the movement, it's not actually going to hurt yourself or hurt your back. Kettlebell's handles at the top, and what I want you to do is just kind of get used to picking it up. Whether that's in a sort of deadlift position, you can do it in a split stance position. Changing hands, feeling comfortable with that grip change. And then once the kettlebell's up, taking it from one side to the other, maybe around the body one way, around the body the other way, and then around the body changing hands, and then around the body changing hands. And this just kind of gets you to feel the weight distribution, how the body has to change when the weight's loaded on one side, how it would feel if it's loaded on the other leg. You can pick it up and do some squats. You can take the kettlebell up towards the chest. If you already know some upright rows or some high pulls, if you're already somewhat comfortable with a swing, you can add some movement in, but nothing too strict. And that's our kettlebell. Okay, by now you should be familiarized and comfortable with the weight of the kettlebell you're going to use for today's work. We're going to go over the swing first, but before we go over the swing, I'm going to teach you or go through a squat jump, and layer in some breath. And that will give you really good teaching principles for how we do both the the swing and the clean. The squat is quite a nice prerequisite that's required for the swing. The swing, the kettlebell will come between the legs, and you'll go into hip extension and have the kettlebell in front of you. I'll give you a little demo here. So the kettlebell will be between the legs and in front of the body, whether you want arms extended or elbows bent and arms close to the body. No problem between those, but as you're noticing through the line and through the work here, I'm coming into this seated sit position, and I'm coming into this hip extension stand position. So I'm thinking sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand. And the way a regular squat, and notice that my squat is a jump up, not a jump forwards. If I jump forwards, I drive my hips forwards instead of extending my hips straight up. The hips coming forwards is going to give you this anterior shift of your pelvis and lumbar spine. And a couple of reps is okay, but if we're doing high volume, high rep range, I'd recommend you go for more of this squat jump technique versus squat jump up rather than this squat jump forwards technique. So we can do 5 or 10 regular squats, double exhales, thinking sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand. Once you've done 10 of those, take a break and get ready for some squat jumps. Same principle, bring your arms behind you. As you jump, bring your hands up. 10 jumps in total, all the way through. And once you've done your 10 jumps, prepare to move the kettlebell. We'll bring the kettlebell in front of us. I'll show you again from the side here. We'll bring the kettlebell in front of the body. I like to step directly over the kettlebell, then take a large step back. The way I receive the kettlebell, or start to receive the kettlebell, is I want to have the weight of the kettlebell in my hands, and then this sit in this lean back in my hips. If I was to let go, I would fall and the kettlebell would fall. I don't want to be in a position where I'm bent over the kettlebell looking to pick it up. I want to be in this hip-loaded position looking to pull the kettlebell between the legs. Pull the kettlebell between the legs. And what I'm aiming for when I pull the kettlebell between the legs is forearm high in the crutch. So you're bringing the kettlebell here versus low and close to the floor, kettlebell high. I'm in this seated position. I'm in this athletic ready position. And then what you'll notice when you're in that loaded position, if you pull the kettlebell through, the momentum of the pull will initiate the drive for your stand. I'll show you again. We'll step over the kettlebell, we'll step back, we'll grab hold of the kettlebell. When I grab hold of the kettlebell, I'm not taking the same grip as I do with a barbell by having my fingers all the way around. I'm looking at more of just a finger grip and having obviously enough room for both my hands. Depending on the width, your little finger might need to be down by the side here. But as long as you have a nice controlled grip over the kettlebell, not too deep with the hands, sit into the hips, pull the kettlebell through. My movement is sit, stand, sit, stand. If you look at what I'm doing, I'm not pushing my hips through and I'm not pulling the kettlebell up. I'm doing my best to stay relaxed in the upper body, as loose and light as I can. I want to think that my arms are like chains and the movement is being all driven and controlled from the hips. So our 2-arm kettlebell swing. Kettlebell will be in front of you. Step over the kettlebell and step back. Grab hold of the kettlebell. Strong controlled grip. Pull the kettlebell high in the crutch. Sit, stand. Arms relaxed, not pulling. Arms in front of the chest or elbows close to the chest. Kettlebell not going much more above head or shoulder height. Once you've done 10 or so reps, place the kettlebell down. The way I like to place the kettlebell down is almost the same way as I pick the kettlebell up. I'll step over the kettlebell, I'll pull through, I'll do the few sit stands. And the way I think about placing the kettlebell down is sit, swing. From this position, I pull, do a couple of swings. Then when I'm ready, I think sit, stay low, and allow the kettlebell to swing in front of me. One more time. From my loaded position, pull through, sit, stand, double exhale. And then when I'm ready, I sit and I place the kettlebell down with control. That's our kettlebell swing. We're gonna now do the kettlebell clean. The clean, I'm introducing this one now just because it's a really nice, comfortable way to get used to just picking the kettlebell up. Whether you wanna then do some goblet squats or some overhead work, depending on what you want to train with the kettlebell, the clean is just a really nice, efficient, comfortable way to bring the kettlebell from the ground to the top rack position. I'll go through that with you now. Same like we do with the swing. I'll go over the kettlebell. This one's a little different. I'm going to orientate this to the side. I'm going to take a 2-hand grip. This hand that I decide to bring the kettlebell to is my first hand grip. My other hand goes on for safety. I'm going to get used to feeling the 2-arm swing in this orientation. I'll place the kettlebell down. I'll pick it up again. I'll do the same thing. I'll get used to feeling the kettlebell in this orientation. I'll place it down. Let me show you from the side the difference between the swing and the clean. When I'm doing the kettlebell swing, the base of the kettlebell is facing the side. Hopefully not up. Hopefully not up, because you lose control of the kettlebell when the weight sits on the top there. So what I'm doing with my kettlebell swing is keeping the base of the kettlebell towards the front. When I'm doing my clean, I'm attempting to keep the base of the kettlebell facing down, and at the same time, keep the kettlebell close to my body. So the movement in my hips is still the same as what I would be doing for a swing, but the difference is I control the kettlebell close to my body. Instead of being out here, I bring it here. Instead of being out here, I bring it here. And when I'm ready, I bring my hand through the middle. So this is called a hand insertion. Show you the swing one more time. It's top row. I'll step over the kettlebell. The hand I'm using will go first. The other hand will go on top. I will pull the kettlebell between the legs. I will pull the kettlebell up towards my chest, and then I need to catch this on the forearm, thumb towards the middle of the chest, keeping my hand on top. And when I'm ready to catch or lower the kettlebell, I want to catch in that swing, bring it to the chest. Catch in the swing, bring it to the chest. Depending if you want to let go when you're ready and catch at the top, whether you want to keep it let go and try to catch one-handed, or just keep two hands on the kettlebell at all times, no problems, whatever comfortable for you. Once you've done a few reps on one side, we'll do the same on the other. Step over the kettlebell, hand first, second hand to support. I'm doing my regular swing. I'm trying to catch the kettlebell on my forearm, thumb towards the middle of the chest, hand on top. Catching the swing, catching the shoulders. It's our kettlebell clean. I'm going to review everything for you one more time. We're going to do a two-arm swing. We're going to do a one-arm swing. We're going to do a two-arm clean and then a one-arm clean. Kettlebell swing, I'll show you from the side here. Kettlebell swing. Yes. Kettlebell's in front. Step over the kettlebell. Two hands, finger grip. Grab hold of the kettlebell. Pull between the legs. Sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand. When I'm ready to place the kettlebell down, I sit and swing. If I want to do one-handed, one hand grip, the kettlebell turns 90 degrees. The better grip, which we'll go into more detail and discover, is more towards the top corner of the kettlebell. So I'll grab hold of the top corner. I will pull the kettlebell through, same thing, forearm high in the crutch. When I'm ready to change, I'll place the kettlebell down, other side. Place the kettlebell down. That's our swing. The clean, same setup. Two hands on the kettlebell, pull the kettlebell through the legs, bring it towards the chest. Keep it close to the kettlebell, bottom facing down best you can. Take it down, catch in the chest. Take it down, catch in the chest. When I'm ready, I'll change sides, other hand through, other hand on top. Supported. I catch high in the crutch, catch up on the shoulders. Once you're comfortable with the single arm, the two-hand clean, you can go to a single arm, one hand, same thing with the fingers, top of the corner of the kettlebell. And I'm learning to catch at the top, one-handed. A few reps, and catch. At the top, one-handed. That's our kettlebell. You can play around with different sets and reps. The thing that I recommend you start to do is build up to 100 kettlebell swings and 50 kettlebell cleans. Try and do that daily, depending on the weight of your kettlebell that you have, depending on the time throughout the day that you have to do this. 100 kettlebell swings, if you do 25 times, that'll kind of be less than 5 minutes. And same with your cleans, maybe 5 or 10 cleans on one arm, 5 or 10 cleans on the other, building up to 100 reps in total. Okay, that was Discover the Kettlebell. Thank you so much for training with me. If you like that, there's more with Control the Kettlebell that's available on School. That will be the more comprehensive program. We will refine everything you just learned today, but in a lot more detail. So I'll go over full technique so you feel more safe and competent with using and moving that kettlebell. I'll also teach you additional exercises or additional skills like the snatch, the jerk, the push press, the strict press. And then with that information, you'll be able to enter things like kettlebell sport. And you'll also be able to feel hopefully more comfortable on how to incorporate and use the kettlebell as part of your exercise routine. So you can follow me on YouTube if you're not already, and that will give you access to more content like this. And if you're not already following me on School or accessing these videos on School, then go to School, either the Fundamentals of Human Movement or the House of Strength.